Hey, I'm Turner Spotswood, and I'm a senior at Bayside, and I'm just going to start us off in a prayer. Let us pray. Lord, thank you for an evening like this evening. Thank you for parents who care so much about your children. We ask you to watch over our community. We ask you to fill this room with the Holy Spirit, learning his gifts, wisdom, understanding, counsel, knowledge, and wonder. Please open the ears of parents and concerned adults who are seeking these gifts. You know us so well, Father. You know our every flaw, yet you love us so much. Thank you. Thank you for today and every day. You're such a great dad and best friend. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Good evening. Welcome to Bayside Academy. My name is Cindy Midyett. I'm the upper school counselor here at Bayside, and I'm eager to present this in conjunction with the Community of Concern here tonight. The Community of Concern is an organization that is parent-led. It is something that brings awareness to issues that are relevant to us, such as teen media, social media, teen driving, underage drinking, bullying, and drug abuse. And I think it's a relevant conversation that we're having here tonight because we are embracing spring break right around the corner around the community. And thank you, speakers, noted impressive speakers that we have here tonight, of whom our lower school counselor, Andy Millsaps, will briefly give an introduction for you as well. Andy?
Okay, I am going to give you all a brief bio on our speakers, and then I will let them begin. Our first speaker is the Honorable Michael J. Hoyt, Judge of the Municipal Court of Daphne, a practicing attorney for 10 years in Baldwin County, focusing on domestic relations, criminal defense, and civil litigation. He has served as Daphne Municipal Court Judge since 2013. A graduate of Daphne High School, Auburn University, and the University of Arkansas at Little Rock School of Law, Judge Hoyt is a member of Alabama State Bar and Baldwin County Bar. Our second speaker is Captain Judge Beatty, Daphne Police Department, currently serving as the Operations Captain over the Criminal Investigations Division and Patrol Divisions, a 10-year veteran of the Daphne Police Department in Patrol and in the Criminal Investigative Division. He was recently promoted to Operations Captain. Captain Beatty is a licensed polygraph examiner in the state of Alabama and currently serves on the SWAT team as a certified ranking hostage negotiator, public information officer, and is the assistant commander on the Baldwin County Major Crimes Unit. Captain Beatty is a certified ranking hostage negotiator, public information officer, and is the assistant commander on the Baldwin County Major Crimes Unit. Our last speaker is attorney Tom O'Hara, McDowell, Knight, Roeder, and Sledge in Mobile, is a partner specializing in complex multi-party litigation representing businesses and individuals. Some 25 years of practice includes clients such as Austell, the Mobile Press Register, Volkert and Associates, and Zurich American Insurance Company. So please welcome our speakers.
I guess we'll start. Do you want me to go first? We'll kind of do it.
Go ahead.
It's kind of the order that this thing would go in. Is that okay? Wouldn't you be last as civil litigation? Pretty much. Yeah.
I have the last word.
Yeah. I'm Captain Beatty. Thanks for coming. You know, my part to this is really pretty short and sweet. If you allow somebody under the age of 21 to drink at your residence, you will be arrested. That's for sure the case in Daphne. We've had some cases in the news here lately that y'all are probably well aware of. But we also have cases that aren't in the news that happen on a pretty regular basis. The law does state that we have to prove that you know or you knew that there was alcohol being provided to the minors in your residence. But that's really not that hard to prove depending on the situation. Also, you could be, if you do that, you'll be charged with the crime of an open house party, which is a misdemeanor in the state of Alabama. I'll let the judge talk to the fines and the possible jail sentence in dealing with that. You could also be charged with contributing to the delinquency of a minor, depending on who's at your house and the age of the people at your house. The Daphne Police Department has also started, we have a team that responds to incidents that involve juveniles that have been drinking if they commit a serious crime or they are injured severely because of the alcohol. And if we are able to track that alcohol back to its origin of how they got it, and it happens to be you from your house that this child was drinking, you could be charged as an accessory after the fact for whatever crime that they committed and or whatever happened to them, meaning if a child wraps his car around a tree and kills himself because he's been drinking, and we can prove that he got the alcohol from your house, you very likely will be charged with the crime of murder. So, like I say, mine's pretty short and sweet. The law is pretty clear about how this goes about, as this goes around, and what we can and can't do. And the Daphne Police Department is becoming very proactive in trying to decrease the occurrence of this happening in Daphne. And I guess we're going to do a Q&A after. We want to go through all this. So that's kind of my part. It's really short and sweet. It is against the law, and if we can prove it at the Daphne Police Department, we will arrest you.
Thank you, Captain. And my part's probably shorter than Captain Beatty's. First of all, thank you to Bayside and United Way and Drug Education Council for putting this forum on, and really a timely subject matter. You only have to turn your news on over the past several months. And here with spring break going on, you can turn it on every night and see incidents of underage drinking and house parties being hosted. In fact, in my, being the municipal court judge is part-time. We have court every week. I'm there a couple of days a week. But in my private practice, I represent individuals. And in fact, I've got a call just this week from a lady. She and her husband had brought their high school son and about 6 or 8 of his friends down from central Mississippi down to the Gulf. And those friends invited some other friends over, and they thought, well, look, they're going to drink, so we'll have them here at the condo, and everything will be safe, and we'll keep an eye on them. And they got a knock on the door from the Gulf Shores Police Department. And 15 juveniles and 2 parents were arrested that night. That'll ruin your vacation, folks. And it's far beyond that, because you've dealt with the initial arrest, and what those parents are going to be charged with initially in the city, and what would be charged with in Daphne, as Captain Beatty said, is having an open house party. It's a Class B misdemeanor in Daphne. It's subject to a fine of up to $500 plus cost of court, up to 180 days in the Daphne City Jail. You can be put on probation for a period of up to 24 months. You have to come back to court 4 times a year for the next 2 years. And so you certainly risk doing some time in jail. In the case of this lady, where underage, under the age of 18, are arrested, those are delinquents. They're going to be in juvenile court up in Bay Minette. The parents could be charged with contributing to the delinquency of a minor. That's a Class A misdemeanor. That's just shy of under being a felony. That's up to a year in the county jail, up to a $6,000 fine. There are serious repercussions. In the city of Daphne, if the police investigate, if they make arrest, you will come to court. You're going to have to, usually they're going to hire a lawyer. You're going to have legal fees. You have to come to court, stand up in front of a courtroom with 200 people in there, and be charged with and convicted of, if you plead to, having an open house party. There's some embarrassment involved in that. It's the risk that you've put your children in, quite frankly, and we'll address that with some of the other questions and when Mr. O'Hara speaks. So it is serious. Daphne, along with other municipalities in the county, are cracking down on it. And so we're going to see more and more of these cases. We don't see a whole lot of them in the past here in Daphne. This is, you're going to see so many incidents of this, particularly spring break time down in the south part of the county. But we do see it in our community. And we know it goes on, and they are cracking down on it. And we'll see you Tuesday night in Daphne Municipal Court if it happens. And I'll let Tom tell you about all the horrible civil penalties that befall you if you do this.
Thank you, Judge. I'd like to also thank the United Way and the Drug Education Council and Bayside Academy for hosting this event. I'd also like to thank you all for showing up. I think this is where it starts. Concerned parents. This is an important message. People have good intentions and they're well-meaning, but sometimes they make bad choices, and those bad choices can affect not only your reputation, but your family's financial well-being. And I'll talk about some examples of that as I get into my presentation. But thank you for being here, and if you happen to mention it to somebody and pass the message along, that'd be great. We have to step up and be parents, not pals, not friends, not the cool parent, because that can be a decision, a choice that has devastating consequences for you, for your child's development, health, well-being, and also not only your reputation, but also your finances, everything that you've worked for. What I was asked to talk about is the civil liability side of the equation. And as Judd and Judge Hoyt told you, on the criminal side of things, they have what's called the Open House Party Act. And what it's designed to prevent and prohibit is, the passive allowance of underage drinking on premises that you control. In other words, you know what's going on. You may not have supplied the liquor. Somehow minors may have come into possession of liquor, but before the law was that if you didn't supply it, you weren't liable. Well, the law has changed. This Open House Party Act says even if you don't supply the liquor, if you're aware it's going on premises that you control, you can be criminally prosecuted, arrested and criminally prosecuted. So you have to take action. If it's on premises you control. And premises you control can be your house. It can be the condo that you rent. It can be a house that you lease. It could be your hunting camp. If you're in control of those premises and you observe and know about underage drinking going on, you're subject to being arrested and prosecuted criminally. Now, on the civil liability side, there's another element that's furnishing or supplying the alcohol. And you don't have to sell it. You don't have to be a bar. But if you furnish or supply the alcohol, that's a major mistake. I mean, that is something that brings the civil liability into the equation. And that can result in judgments. But, I've got this slide here, the house party. And those are pictures from a movie, Superbad. And, these are all examples of movie where it's underage drinking going on. It's part of popular culture. And these are movies that are popular. These are movies that teenagers and kids watch. Animal House, Risky Business, House Party, Project X, Superbad. It all glorifies, underage and irresponsible drinking. But, this is basically the law. I'm bending my neck. I have my slide here. But it's a social host is anyone who is in control of the premises and who furnishes alcohol or allows it to be consumed on those premises. The law that attaches liability on the civil side is called the dram shop law. And it's Alabama statute. These are laws passed by the Alabama legislature, but you are liable for furnishing alcohol to an adult who is visibly intoxicated or a minor, whether or not intoxicated. So that's the distinction under the dram shop law between minors and adults. Adults, you're liable if they're visibly intoxicated. So if you have a Christmas party or some other type of business party, you can be held liable under the dram shop law for furnishing alcohol to an adult who's visibly intoxicated and drives home and gets into an accident. When you're dealing with minors, it doesn't matter whether they show signs of intoxication. You can be held liable under the dram shop law. And the next statute that I cite there is just the part of the statute that says someone who gets injured by someone who's intoxicated that you've furnished alcohol to, or a minor that you furnished alcohol to, they have a private cause of action. They can file a lawsuit. The law says they can, and you're responsible for the damages. And if you're convicted under the open house party law or the dram shop law, then that's conclusive evidence in the civil case. It's already been decided by a court. This is a cartoon that I saw that I thought captured the moment. Judge just mentioned a couple that were down at a condo, and some of the kids were drinking. They thought because it was under their supervision or watch, they were in control. You know, better that they're doing it here in front of us than out somewhere else. That's a bad way to approach this situation. We got to change the perspective on that, because there is no safe haven. You're not in control, and things go wrong. It's easy to fall into the trap when your child says, you know, it's my graduation party. Hey, Mom and Dad, you know, can we have some beer? I'll make sure that nobody drives. We'll take the keys away. There are cases. There are cases out there where people have been sued in a civil lawsuit that have attempted the same thing. But you can't control everything. You know, they get their keys and they drive. Someone's there who you didn't get the keys from. People with well intentions, but they end up in a lawsuit, and it's costly. It costs money to defend lawsuits. One of the cases that I'll talk about is you know, another trap, if you're unaware. It involved a physician couple in Raleigh, North Carolina, and their daughter was getting married, and a little brother and some of his friends were at the wedding, and they were helping themselves to the beer and the wine. One of them got intoxicated, or they probably all at some point were intoxicated, but one of them drove home, wrapped himself around a tree, and it was a fatality. And this couple was sued, and there were pictures. Pictures at the wedding of the minors walking around with beer. No one did anything about it. It was pretty hard evidence. They were aware that minors were drinking during the wedding party, but it was their daughter's wedding. You know, maybe they didn't want to take the time to discipline little brother and their friends at the time. But you have to do that. They were in control of the premises where that party was taking place, and alcohol was furnished. So it met all the requirements for civil liability. So it's easy to get sucked into a situation like that, or not, you know, be vigilant. But this is the response is, you know, you have to be a parent, not a pal. And failing to take action puts you at a lot of risk. So what can go wrong? There are multiple things that can go wrong, starting with alcohol poisoning, physical violence, trips and falls, sexual assault, property damage, and, you know, heaven forbid, DUI resulting in death, physical injury, or property damage. So what's the fallout from some of those unintended consequences that we're not in control of? Our news headlines. I think one of the first cases prosecuted under the Open House Party Act involved a woman, a mom in the Greystone subdivision up in Birmingham, which is a pretty prominent subdivision. The party was in the basement. It was originally intended for a few close friends, but the few uninvited guests showed up, and the party grew. And apparently it grew out of control because Beer cans were everywhere, but this mom who said that she was upstairs, not in the basement, didn't know what was going on, was convicted under the law. A jury determined that her story, she didn't know, was not credible because of the number of minors involved and the beer cans that were in the trash and on the air hockey table. I talked to you about the prominent doctor in Raleigh. This was a 5-day trial, but there were news headlines when the fatality occurred. There were news headlines when he was arrested under the law. There were news headlines when the criminal case went to trial, and there were news headlines when the civil case went to trial. And it was a 3 or 4 day trial with broadcasts every day. That's the type of publicity that can result. We've had publicity in Daphne regarding these instances too. A civil lawsuit obviously means that you're being sued for money damages, and even though you may not have supplied the alcohol or furnished it, and even though you may not have known what was going on, that doesn't mean a lawyer who has a client who has suffered some type of property damage or some injury can't sue you. There's a basis there to file a lawsuit, and then that attorney is entitled to what's called discovery. That's very uncomfortable. They sit you down in front of a court reporter, put you under oath, and they probe and they ask questions about what you did know and what happened and what you didn't know and where the alcohol came from. And believe me, if you get sued on this, hiring a lawyer is expensive to defend you. So even if ultimately you prevail in a civil lawsuit, you're not found liable and there is no award of damages, the cost of defending that lawsuit and your reputation, because you're involved in that lawsuit, are already mounting up. You may say, well, I have homeowners insurance or I have auto insurance, so I'm covered. That depends. A lot of policies have exclusion for criminal acts. So if you're convicted under the open house party law because you knew it was going on, or you furnished alcohol, your homeowner's insurance likely excludes it because you were involved in a criminal act. If it's your child that's involved in an accident, the auto insurance policy usually have exclusions for driving under the influence. It's not covered. So there are exclusions with insurance policies that may preclude coverage, which means that you're paying a lawyer to defend a criminal case, you're paying a lawyer to defend a civil case, and it's expensive whether you beat the criminal case or you beat the civil case. On top of that, your insurance company may decide that they file a lawsuit to get what's called a declaratory judgment, to get the court to say there isn't coverage based upon the exclusions. There's no coverage for that, so you got to hire another lawyer to go after your insurance company on the coverage issues. So I think the three of us have kind of laid out what the consequences are here, and they are significant. I think everybody here would agree, potentially devastating. So, what can be done? How can you host a safe teen party? And my first answer to that question is, guys, put your wife in charge. Because everything listed on here, they already probably have in their head. I mean, it's the first thing that they would do. Limit the number of invitees, know who's being invited in advance, how they know your child. Don't admit people that aren't invited. Set a beginning and ending time for the party. Discuss other ground rules and encourage your team to be responsible. Have that discussion with them. They're part of the family, and they need to understand that underage drinking puts their health and their development at risk, your reputation, the family's reputation, and your financial well-being. So those are some other tips. And then I kind of like this slide. It's a takeoff on the Priceless commercial, but the budget for a party is $765. Damages from a civil lawsuit. In one of these cases that I'm talking about, where there were fatalities and the furnishing of alcohol was particularly bad, there was an $8 million verdict. So preventing underage drinking, priceless. And I love the cell phone there with the text message. Everyone, party at my house. How kids text these days, word gets out fast. When I was a kid, we were trying to find a party. We didn't have to drive, and we'd go to an abandoned parking lot we called Jungle Land to get together, and we'd talk about what we were going to do that night, Friday or Saturday night. But text messaging today, it's instantaneous, and this message may be sent to 5 close friends, but those 5 close friends have 5 other friends, and those 5 friends have 5 more, and word gets out. I thank Judd and Judge for being short, because I've kind of gone over my time allotment. I took theirs, but again, thank you all for being here.
Yeah, we'll take any questions. Do we have mics for that? And not to downplay Tom on the civil side, all those tips for a safe party is great. On the criminal side, the way to have a safe party with your kids, don't have alcohol. I mean, it's pretty simple.
And
Yeah.
one thing I thought
Sure.
about in that Open House Act, and we didn't really cover it, but it includes illegal drugs as well. And so if it's a marijuana or whatever usage at the house, but that opens up a whole other ball of wax, because if you're in your home and you have children over there, or anybody for that matter, and if they left a little baggie of cocaine or marijuana in the bathroom drawer or something, guess what? You are now, could be potentially be in possession of a controlled substance. Now we're talking about felony. It's not 30 years ago, folks. I mean, the drugs are prevalent, the kids have them, it's terrible. And so that opens you up to that criminal liability as well. Somebody had a question.
What if you find yourself in a situation, you're a house guest, come in town, you're a house guest, and you have no idea that this friend of yours has planned a party for her child and is serving alcohol, and you're, packed up there for the weekend and find yourself in very awkward circumstances, I guess pack up and leave?
Go to a hotel.
From the criminal side, yeah, get out. You wouldn't be held liable under the open house party, but you could be arrested for contributing to delinquency of a minor.
Yeah. That would be very uncomfortable.
Yeah, on the open house party law, it's the control of the premises part of it, that if you're just a guest, you're not in control of the premises. Unless, of course, the owners are not there and they've left you in charge.
Yeah, then definitely get out.
Then run.
But you could still, I think I could make an argument for probable cause to arrest you for contributing to delinquencies of minor if you stay there and allow it to go on.
Well, and in that statute, and I printed it off, it does say that it's any person, any other person, parent, legal guardian, legal custodian, or any person that will willfully aid, encourage, or cause any child to become or remain delinquent, dependent, or in need of supervision. So arguably, certainly there's probable cause for arrest there, and arguably failing to act, whether it's protecting yourself and getting out of there, or even for that matter, being proactive, and you're probably not going to get invited back to the house, but calling the police. You know, that's probably in that friendship, but you might save some lives by doing so.
Do you have a sense of how prevalent the house parties are on the Eastern Shore? Is it something going on every weekend somewhere, or is it, do you just have any idea?
As far as parents supporting or having a function, I don't think that's going on every weekend. It's probably going on once a month. It's probably going on every weekend within this county, for sure. So yeah, I think it's pretty prevalent. I think kids are having parties without their parents' knowledge every weekend. We couldn't have done that good a job.
No, that's no question.
Does anybody else have a question?
If you have a home that's a second home, that you are not there, but your teenager has a key to the home, and they go without your permission, and they're drinking there, and somebody is hurt, is there any kind of civil suit that could be filed?
Well, the answer to that question is there are a lot of, you can be sued without being liable. You know, there's nothing stopping somebody from suing you if they believe that they've been damaged. So that's the first answer to the question. But if your question was, are you liable under those circumstances? Are they likely to get an award of damages against you because there's been some type of injury that resulted or property damage? I'd say you probably have a good defense under those circumstances because they were there without your permission and without your knowledge. And the same thing goes for, you know, if you have alcohol there at the second residence, you know, if there was a history where the kids have you know, gotten into the liquor cabinet or you know, the liquor in the boathouse or at the camp, then you may run into some problems because you know, what did you do to secure that alcohol, knowing that underage minors had gotten into it before?
And Tom, that's going to be a question for a jury. I mean, that's going to be a factual determination that's going to have to be likely tried to determine, you know,
So-
what does knowledge mean in that case?
Yeah.
If there's,
Yeah. So if that was a first instance, and you know, you disciplined, and you found out about it and disciplined, then you know, that's a different story than this is something that you know, has happened before and you really didn't do much about it, or because there's a past history.
Yeah, and taking pictures, if you think your kids are not taking pictures at these events, you're kidding yourself. Tom might have to answer this better, but if your child has a Facebook page of him and his friends over months at your second residence drinking alcohol, yeah, I think you probably have a problem. You might have one criminally because you are in control of that property. So yeah, you have to be careful.
and not having knowledge doesn't mean plugging up your ears and covering your eyes. That's not going to fly as not knowing. Well, they didn't have permission, but I'm not, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. Not going to work.
I have a question on the criminal side. It's not exactly a social posting, but what you said made me think of it. Can a minor be arrested for underage drinking just like based on a picture or a video?
Yes.
Or did you have to actually see them?
No. Yes.
They can be arrested for that, yes. And shockingly, and maybe it shouldn't be shocking, most of us in this room, we were all growing up, maybe somebody had a Polaroid camera, but nobody really took pictures at events, so we were at our parties or that kind of thing. Thank God, I'm sure all of us are thankful for that. But what kids nowadays document is unreal. Pictures of smoking marijuana, pictures of drinking alcohol, pictures of, all kind of criminal, immoral, terrible acts. And they document it, and they put it on Instagram or Facebook, whatever it is, and it's accessible. You just search it, and there it is. And then it should be no shock that, believe me, Daphne Police Department has a presence on the internet. They're watching. Other law enforcement agencies are watching. Kids don't know they're being watched. The technology renaissance in the public schools, with every child having a laptop or access to it, that has been unreal, what has come about from that and has exposed the children to it, what they document, what they do at school. Of course, all of that's monitored. But even knowing that, and we know in society, you can't go on a street corner without, there's cameras everywhere. We're surveilled all the time. And the internet's monitored by law enforcement, hopefully by the children's parents. But people still will, particularly with the kids, because, the brain's not fully formed at that. I don't know at what age it happens, but it's certainly not a 17, 18-year-old male. So.
Yeah, we are probably friends with or follow on Twitter or Instagram, if not your child, probably one of your child's closest friends, and they don't know. So yeah, I mean we do. I mean that's the heartbeat of what's going on in our community with the young kids is the social media. So we've got a huge presence, and most law enforcement does at this point in time.
What is the penalty for a child who's arrested for underage drinking?
It's a big difference if they're over 18 but under 21, or if they're under 18. If they're under 18, I'll be honest, unfortunately, it's not very much. They really, the family court really puts that back on the parents to try and solve the problem. I'll let you answer the above 18.
Yeah, and I'll have to even touch on if it's the under 18, they're going to be in juvenile court up in Bay Minette. And juveniles are not found guilty or convicted of crimes. They're adjudicated delinquent, ultimately, if they are, which would be a conviction. But they're not going to go to jail. Their records are sealed. Most of the time, if it's a first offense, there's going to be what's known as an informal adjustment. It's essentially a small period of probation, and the charge just goes away. Or a consent decree, which is similar, and there may be some period of probation. And there could be, if they're in juvenile court and they're adjudicated delinquent, they could be on a period of probation, and they have to check in with a probation officer at their school. All the juvenile probation officers, either at the schools or a central part in the municipalities, and they have to go check in with their probation officer. That happens. If they're over 18, then they're going to be either in district court or municipal court, minor possession, consumption of alcohol. If you're over 18, if you're 18 or over, you're subject to going to jail. If it's a municipal ordinance violation, which it would be in Daphne, it's subject to a fine of up to $500 and up to 180 days in the city jail. I'm going to be, and I always am, for young people, I'm going to be particularly harsh. And I'm going to keep them on probation. If it's egregious, I'm going to make them do a court referral, which is they're going to have to go see a counselor and do an evaluation and be on a course of treatment, which would include having to check in with this probation officer once a month. They're going to have to submit to drug screens. So there's a whole wide range of things that can happen for kids that consume alcohol or drugs.
That was very politically correct.
What?
not much to juveniles. It's frustrating for law enforcement because they get arrested a couple times as a juvenile, and then that record is wiped clean.
Sure.
Then they come to adult court, and essentially they start back all over again.
And they can qualify for youthful offender there.
Yeah,
And
so,
seal it one more time.
It gets real frustrating on us sometimes because we've dealt with these kids 2 or 3 times, and then it kind of just wipes the slate clean when they turn 18, and then it starts. And nothing against the judge. I mean, he doesn't know that, and he can't know that they have a prior record. But it's a little frustrating for us. But how many kids do you? I know once a year at least. But how many kids come back from Alabama and Auburn every quarter because they got arrested in Daphne for drinking underage during the
we've
summer?
got kids at every probably university in the state that have to come down and do reviews. We do quarterly reviews. They have to come down 4 times a year.
So yeah, they have to leave school to be here on a Tuesday night.
On
to
a
go in front
Tuesday
of the
night, and they
judge.
sit in that docket all night until we do reviews at the end. And just to come up in front of me and I say, you got any problems? Well, I know if they've had problems or not before I even ask the question, because we've run their history and we know if there have been any arrests or anything like that. Usually there's not any problems. If there are, you better tell me there is. But I had one particular gentleman who was, I don't remember if he was DUI or minor in possession consumption or even if it was marijuana possession, and he was going to a state university, very nice family, and he was on probation, and he came back into court on a review, and I asked him, are you going to pass a drug test tonight? Well, I should. Well, if you ask me that question, the answer is yes. Probably if I ask you if you can pass a drug test, yes, the easiest test you. If I get an answer, maybe, or I should, or even any kind of pause, well, I know you're going to fail it. So I send him to go take it, and he comes back, and he fails it. So we serve him with a motion to revoke his probation. Now, here he is, a student, you know, in school and college, and the parents are there. And I think it took finally with this kid, I didn't want to jam him up in school, but he had to do, I think, a week in jail, and we ended up coordinating where it wouldn't affect his tests, taking his exams. Because something had to get through to his head that this behavior is not going to be tolerated. And if I've issued an order and put you on probation, and there's terms in there, and they're ignored or violated, well, then you're telling me, I don't care what you say, Judge, I'm going to do what I want to do. But I got ways to remedy that. And it's for their good. That's why I'm hard on the young people. If you're an old derelict, there's no helping you. But if you're a young kid, don't let something stupid ruin your future. And if I can help you out, I want to do that. And I'm going to do that by being particularly harsh when it's called for.
And we see an uptick, spring break, Christmas, in the summer on college kids that come back to Daphne because they've been at school, and it's far more socially acceptable to drink alcohol in those settings, and they come back to Daphne and kind of forget. This is not the University of Alabama or the University of Auburn, and you can't just drink wherever, whenever. So usually we see an uptick in those arrests during the summer and on vacations, holidays, because they come back and don't put that homeboy hat back on to say, I can't be doing this at home. This is just something I can do at school. So if you have any kids fixing to go off to school when they come back, please remind them they are back in Daphne now. They are not at the university.
I know that there are applications out there, Snapchat, that are supposed to make your text disappear, within a certain amount of time after sending it. But there's ways to recover that. A good lawyer who thinks they've got a good case, they'll send a subpoena to the internet provider to wherever it needs to go to try to recover that. And I guarantee you there's a way to get to text messages and to pictures that on Instagram that have been deleted and things like that. So it's just shouldn't be doing it. That's the first mistake, underage drinking. But posting it and talking about it on social media and selfies and that type of thing is just compounding problems.
And to let y'all know so your kids won't fool you, how Snapchat works, Snapchat actually just changes the digital format of the 01010 after 10 seconds, but they save all that on their server. So that is subpoenable by criminal or defense attorneys. I mean, we can look at all of that. But we just have to know a name and a telephone number.
Yeah. If the FBI can get Apple to crack the iPhone, believe me, Daphne law enforcement can get you.
And that's a little bit different, that argument. You know, Apple, if you put in the wrong code 10 times, it wipes out the phone. So the FBI's put in 9 codes. They don't want to try number 10, so that's why they're trying to force Apple to, if a phone is set up that way, to write a program to go around it.
But the remedy is to just not engage in the conduct
Yes.
to begin with. I mean, that's the message.
Well, one thing I was going to share, it only takes one parent who's not on board with us. But by the same token, it only takes one parent like us to send a text message saying, hey, what's going on? So we have the ability to play the same game the kids do, to send the text message and saying, hey, are you going to be at your house? Are you going to be at the vacation house? Is everything under control? And I've done that before and stopped, one of these. So we can play the same game and prevent these things from happening. We have to be willing to step out and do it.
Starts here.
And I think that's very, further on that point is, developing, making sure you have relationships with your friends' parents as well. I remember in our neighborhood growing up, I think most people in the neighborhood, moms and dads, like they had permission to discipline other people's kids if they were acting up, and everybody communicated. And I think we've lost some of that in social media. But certainly you can, the social, hey, what are you doing? They know dad's watching, dad's keeping track. So I think that's very important.
I think that's one of the things that needs to be added to that slide. We need to know who our kids are inviting to the party. If our kids are going to a party, we should be calling the parents of that child and saying, hey, is it true? Are you having a party here tonight? And I want to make sure there's no alcohol being served, or are y'all going to be over there? And I want to make sure, are there beverages that are going to be served? Are y'all going to be keeping an eye on? That's one of the things that I've done. I have older boys now who are in their 20s, but they did not think I was a very cool mom by doing that, but I sure did sleep better.
Yeah, I had a niece whose mother made her call her from the house phone when she, not this, couldn't call from the cell phone, had to call from the house phone when she got to where she. Yeah,
Sir? I want to thank y'all for coming here, and obviously there's less than 15 of us here as parents. And I'm curious, are y'all going on to our, I don't know who all is represented here on Bayside, are you going in and talking to our students? I'm just curious.
Let me introduce to y'all Robin Snyder. He's a sergeant with the Daphne Police Department. He's a DARE certified and school resource officer certified. You've been working with the council for 21 years, is that what you said?
Yes.
Robin goes into all of our schools in Daphne and teaches all the DARE and all the alcohol and all the stuff. And I think pretty much every city, maybe not every city in Baldwin County, and the sheriff's department does drug and alcohol education in schools. And you start as young as first grade? Preschool.
Now,
Mr. Robbins, do you come to that, Bayside County?
yes. I'm assuming, I know a lot of schools do just random drug test, dogs coming in. We ever do that here? Just random coming in?
We haven't done that in a while. We've met with the headmaster, is that correct? We've met with the headmaster and discussed that. The Daphne Police Department, unfortunately, right now is out of the dog business. Our dog got too old about 3 or 4 months ago. We had to retire her. We're in the process of picking a new one. We absolutely will work with the schools. I know we've done it at Daphne High School this year, if not once, twice. We've done it at Daphne Middle School. So yeah, we are proactive in attempting to do that. We would be glad to work with Bayside with whatever they would want to do.
And then, I know everybody's got things to do. I know we got to go to basketball camp. Is all of this information going home to the parents? Because it's people are doing it. We don't have to act like it's not happening. It's gonna happen. It's happening. It's important to keep that. Is all of this going home? And that's not y'all's issue. That's our issue back here. But I mean, are people really getting this, because everybody's crossing their fingers hoping it's not going to happen. But I'm just curious, are we, that's not y'all's issue, sure, it's our issue, but is all of this information going home to every parent here? Well, I'm gonna tell my wife, I gotta go.
That's right, everybody do go home, the Drug Education Council in Mobile and Baldwin County have those free. I have them, most of the police departments, including the sheriff department, so it is there. The kids have a workbook with packets that they send home too. The issue that we have had has been some of the parents still want to host the parties, I guess like we did back in the sixties and seventies, but it's a different time, some parents just don't want to get it.
So, but,
I guess I could answer that, probably not. And I think this is a way that the Drug Education Council is trying to get the message to the parents. You know, I mean, unfortunately, you can lead a horse to water. You know, you can't make them drink, so,
Well,
I think the message is
And like
getting
you
out
said,
there.
tonight, I mean, there's 15, 20 people here. I know this event was highly publicized on the radio, and they did a wonderful job promoting this. You see who's here. You're the people that are concerned and that care, and you're the parents that care. And so, kudos to you all for being here. Is it getting home? I don't know. You said it's not our issue. I don't know if it is or not, but I still think there's that prevalent attitude out there. And I think the tagline on this event up here was so good, Tom touched on it. They have plenty of friends, be the parent. All of us that are parents know it's not always easy to be the parent, but that's what we have to do. And I think that I told the lady from the news earlier, I said, you know, it's cliched and now, but I think, you know, the late Nancy Reagan's tagline from the drug war in the 80s, just say no. Well, that's simple. But as parents, it's easier. You have to say no. And that's what has to be done. And I'd be right mad if I'm a parent and I find out that my child was going over to some house and mom and dad were there and were furnishing or allowed alcohol to be there. That should make some parents very...
I think too, there are a lot of parents, and I was one of these parents when my boys were, 15, 16, my child wouldn't do that. And then I got a phone call and I had to go over to the house and my child had done that. And so it was a big wake-up call for me. And I think there are a lot of parents that really don't think that their child, that I think the absence here might be some of those parents really don't come because they don't think their child would be involved. But peer pressure is still around. And
well, I agree. I was one of those guys that y'all picked up in high school. And I'm from this area. And people turn their heads, no one to hear it. Just pray to God it's not us. And so I thank y'all for coming this. I also think, man, do whatever you can. Because I also had friends that died in high school. There was another fraternity brother whose girlfriend spent a lot of time in prison from a prominent family, and it goes on and on. So for me, I want to shut our heads. I mean, I want to spend all this money here to send all my kids, and then to sit there and watch me come to y'all's funerals, your children. So it's awkward because then we're the bad parents, or we're the parents all maybe causing issues. We all know what's going on. Yeah, second home, that's where we went. That's what we hung out down there on. We did all this stuff. And so, to me, I want you. If you see my son playing sports here, you got the right to get all up in his face. Because I see y'all there, but I don't say that other, because man, I don't want him to be the one that's saying which somebody would have said something. And so, I do thank y'all. And it is important. And it is kind of sad. We're sitting here tonight, we got 15 people, and we're watching what's in the news right now. I guarantee you that family did not plan on this happening 6 years ago.
Takes a village. It takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah, and how do you think that family feels about that boy that died? He was 21. Is that the phone call you want to get with your 21-year-old? Because you've allowed it for all these years?
Was that his first trip to spring break down there?
Probably not. Probably not.
Well, I would pray that y'all, and I pray that I think Bayside is doing this, but I pray we keep doing more, not to just feel good, check it off, and get our living drug awareness.
I will say this to all of y'all, the drug council, if you want me to come wherever, whenever, let me know. I love getting this message out. I am not an angel by any means. I did bad things when I was growing up. But, maybe I can pass some of those lessons on. I've also seen the fire department at 3 o'clock in the morning watch a 16-year-old break it down in a culvert to get it off the street, and he wrecked his car and got ejected from it because he was intoxicated. So,
And I say the same thing to the drug council. I'm happy to go around and speak. I do go every semester to Daphne High School. I speak to the senior government class. And they've invited me out there to do that. Of course, that covers all kinds of topics, but I try to make sure to hammer home some lessons to them, whether it's drinking or drug use or, really the social media, I'm telling you. And the kids, the explicit photos, these children, what's happening is they take these pictures and some distribution of child pornography. I mean, you're going to have kids that have to register as juvenile sex offenders.
Well, have you been
It's
here?
terrible.
Just curious. Have you
No.
spoke here yet?
I'm not supposed to.
Well,
I await the invite now, and I'll be here when they invite.
and I'll throw this out, which is a whole different topic. The judge talks about drugs, marijuana, cocaine, hash, which is, or heroin, which is coming down the pipe. Steroids, huge uptick in steroids right now in this area. Prescription medications, they're stealing.
Oh, yeah.
They're stealing y'all's prescription medication. They're selling ADHD medicine on these campuses they've taken from their younger brothers, older brothers, parents, whatnot. So when you think of drugs, don't just think of the backwoods, the backstreet needles. I mean, drugs are, it's the steroids and it's the prescription medication that's really affecting our kids today.
Hey, Andy, is this something that I love that picture was up there. I mean, that picture is worth 1,000 words. The house party,
Priceless.
just how we get newsletters every week. Is that, I would love to see something like that go out with,
I took a picture of it, I'm gonna post it on Facebook.
I'm okay to post it on Facebook too, but I think too that went out with a little blurb about what we just had, some notes about what we covered here tonight. I think would be awesome, because I know my son just 2 days ago, he's a freshman, and he's like, Mom, my friends, he knows that we don't have alcohol in our home, and they're not, we're pretty anti-alcohol. So he knows our stance on it, and I grew up dealing with the consequences of it, so I just prefer not to deal with it. But he's like, my friends say you'll relax when I get a little bit older. So that's the message that he is getting on campus at Bayside. Is, yeah, I know your mom's harsh, but she'll relax when you get a little bit older. I showed him the article yesterday of I thought he was 20, the kid that died in Orange Beach.
Could have been. I thought he was 21.
I thought so, but
I don't know, but I said, because my son said, well, Mom, they say as long as you drink responsibly. And I called him in last night and I said, this is the result of somebody thinking their child was drinking responsibly. And we had a family member that same thing happened as a a senior in high school, went to visit his sister at Alabama, went to a fraternity party, died that, first day he was there, fell off the cliff. So, but they don't, but that was big when he saw it last night. But I would love to see something like this go out to cause some discussion, but also the fact that to some degree these kids do get lawsuits, and, the fact that just by association, your parents, like if you bring alcohol in our home and I don't know it, and you've got your friends, you're risking everything we work for. I just think that's a huge, for parents and kids, if we could, almost like a Cliff Notes version of what we talked about tonight.
So to answer y'all's question, we are recording this presentation for one thing, so we will share that after. And we do have a community of concern page on the Bayside website where we regularly share information from the Drug Education Council and information from our meetings. And we do have a meeting every month, the first Tuesday of the month at 8:30, that all parents, any parents, are welcome to attend, where we discuss issues like this. And in both of our counseling offices, we have tons of information that we will be happy to share with any parents. Our 6th graders are doing DARE right now, so that's what we're working on with them. And we're in the classroom all the time trying to educate our students on these different topics too. So we've had a few really great presentations in the last few years relating to drugs and alcohol. So we are doing everything with our counseling department that we can, and providing as much information out there on social media and on our website to try to reach as many parents and students as we can. Anyway, I know people have places to go, so I'm sure they'll be around for a few more minutes if y'all have any additional questions. But thank y'all for coming, and thanks again to our speakers.
Thank you.